and Jason McNeely came, and I think we made a lot of headway. So that being said, Jason has asked to address the group and have some time to speak to our membership. So we're happy to have him, and come on up, Jason.
First off, I'm Jason Lovett. I've met several of you I haven't. And the reason that I'm here tonight is that several months ago, I got involved. I am a Ron Paul supporter, and I got involved because I wanted to move our party back towards its original platform. And that platform more represented a liberty platform than what we have here today. At our state convention, we had 15 delegates there, and we had an empty seat. We had 6 alternates, and one of those should have filled that seat. The delegates elected, because the 6 alternates were all Ron Paul supporters, that they would simply leave that seat empty. And so it really did create a rift between all of us, and that's why Miss Kathy has given me a few minutes here to try to bring us back together. And one of the things that I went through as I thought of the what transpired at state was probably more so than anything else was some of our own failings in communication. And I have to tell you, I am as responsible as anybody that was there for what happened. And I say that because I showed up in March. I introduced myself, and I wanted to be a delegate. Now, I had spent some time in Iowa, South Carolina, working at the Ron Paul presidential election campaign. And so I still wanted to be involved at the local level, and I walked in and I said, hey, here I am. What I should have done was been here 2 years ago, 3 years ago, talking to each of you, expressing my views, talking about the platforms of the Liberty Movement, and really trying to get everyone to understand what side the Ron Paul people are coming from. And what I'm going to do tonight is just talk to you briefly about what he believes in and what we believe in. And what you're going to find out is that it's probably not any further away from what you believe in personally than any of the other candidates. And so, as I started thinking personally about why in the world would I endorse this guy? Why would I work for this guy? He is so far out of the mainstream. You know, what is the attraction there? And as I looked at his platforms and why I wanted to be involved in it, I found that it's his belief in me. And I simply mirror that when I support him. He thinks that you should be responsible for yourself. He thinks that you should take care of your own health care. He thinks that you should probably take care of your own decisions about religion. And so, when you look back and you say, there are lightning rod issues, and why are we addressing these? And what makes Ron Paul different from any of these other people? When we talk about, lightning rods like health or the reproductive issues, it's Ron Paul's belief and my belief that when it comes to Miss Betty's health care, the best person to address that is Miss Betty. You move on to security. And we live in this post-9/11 era, and we've been indoctrinated that now we have to ratchet up our security. Like somehow terror is brand new. Like somehow Genghis Khan knocking down the wall of your city and destroying everything in it wasn't terror. The Knights Templar taking over a Muslim Jerusalem, or the Muslims retaking Jerusalem, wasn't terror. We come back to our own country, an Indian raid on a small village, or a patrol raid on an Indian village. Somehow those were not terror. Somehow 9/11 was the first time terror ever got introduced. And so when we talk about, how do we combat terror? What is the best idea? What is the best way to do that? And it's my belief that it's a vigilant populace, not a TSA, doing pat-downs and intrusive scannings that are our best defense, not only against terror, but also against tyranny. When I think about what we can do to stop terror and to move forward with our security, I look back at Ben and I think, Ben's the best guy to think about Ben's safety. And if Ben will watch out for me and I watch out for Ben, that is so much better than paying people to strip search you.
Hallelujah.
I'll strip search you for free.
You know,
It all depends who's gonna do this.
they all look like me. You don't want me to strip search.
No, but there's some ladies I wouldn't mind doing it. So it's all relative. We gotta keep our sense of humor too.
That's why we're here. You know, when it comes to things like religion, I did a real quick Google search, and it turns out that there are 78 recognized religions in the United States. So if you are a member of one of those 78, you have a 1 in 78 chance of being right. Now, when it comes to my relationship with God, I choose my own personal counsel. So I have a 1 in 79 chance of being right. You know, but it's not the state or the federal government's, it's not their place to tell me or tell you what we should or should not do with religion. Jamie Jordan should be the guy that decides what religion he belongs to, what he believes. And as long as he's respectful of my beliefs, then he and I could get along perfectly fine. You know, and the same thing applies to marriage. You know, many of you are probably against gay marriage. Whether you're for it or against it, if you look back, if you were against gay marriage, then you gained ground in the Reagan administration. You lost ground with Clinton. You gained ground with Bush, and you lost it again in Obama. I encourage each of you to look and find a single solitary reason why the government should ever be involved in marriage. Ever. The best person to decide who and what Kathy marries is Kathy.
No, she's not.
It is. It truly is. And you know, right now, Miss Kathy is very concerned because we're going to talk about money for a minute. And she's concerned because she thinks I'm going to go on a tirade about the Fed and quantitative easing, and I'm not. I want to read you a very simple line from Ayn Rand. She's one of my favorite authors. When money ceases to be the tool by which men deal with one another, then men become the tools of men. Blood, whips, guns, or dollars. Take your choice. There is no other. And what that's saying is we've decided to use money as the medium to get along with one another. We exchange goods and services based on money. It used to be done on gold bullion. Before that, it was done on chickens and cows. But we've decided to do it on money. And so the best person to decide who Chad should spend his money is Chad. And the worst thing we can do is let our federal government play with the value of our dollar. When it used to be tied to gold, and I'll give you 9 different books if any of you want to read them. When it was tied to gold, you could look at a franc, you could look at a yen, and you could tie that back to a value. Now what you've got is what's called quantitative easing, and that is a very cool term for printing money. Every time they print money, it decreases the value and purchase power of your dollars. That is something that has to be stopped. And it brings us to, why are we here? Why are the people that support Ron Paul walking in here? You know, what do they want? What do I want? And I can tell you it is not to take over your party. But we live in a society that started long before any of you were born, that we evolved into a 2-party system. If you want to make a difference, you cannot go be in the Constitutional Party. You cannot be in the Libertarian Party. You cannot be in the Green Party. You have a choice to make. You can be a Republican or you can be a Democrat. And so we've chosen to be Republicans because the original platform of the GOP is closer to Ron Paul than it is to any of the other people on that stage. And so what we want and what we ask is that you allow us to participate in choosing people who will represent not only you but us, and we make sure that those candidates move back to the original platform of the GOP. They endorse things like crazy things like sound money, physical responsibility, and probably most important is personal liberty. I was very, very fortunate to have played for a legendary coach named Herc Russell. I remember when I was a freshman, and we go to freshman orientation at Georgia Southern. There's about 20 of us in a room about this size. I've got my pen, I've got my pad, I'm ready to take notes. and that bald-headed guy walks to the front of the room, and he says, we have one rule here, do right. You all know what do right is, so just do it. He turned and he walked out. That was the end of the meeting, that was the end of the lecture. And from that moment, that has been the defining statement in my life. Now, I have not always followed, but I can trace back the lowest points in my life to the days that I did not follow that advice. So in closing, what I want you to take away is, first, we're here to be involved. We want to be involved in helping the GOP choose candidates that will not only support the original GOP platform, but when they get elected, they'll simply do right. And I want you to remember that I believe in each of you. I believe in each of you to take care of yourself, be responsible for your own actions, and be respectful of the thoughts and beliefs of everyone else. And so in going forward, I hope that we'll all do right. Miss Kathy, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate everybody else's. Really hoping there's no questions, but if somebody raises their hand, I will answer. Time's up. Thank you.